I'm definitely not the first person to say that Breath of the Wild is a masterpiece. But it is. I mean, it literally revolutionized the open world genre, with developers even trying to recreate what Breath of the Wild accomplished. I had my very first playthrough of Breath of the Wild a couple years back, and well, it's one of my most fond memories of gaming. And with Tears of the Kingdom being right around the corner, which I am so excited for, I thought, why not look at Breath of the Wild and see why it is such a beloved game. So join me as I look at what makes Breath of the Wild a masterpiece. There are very few games that give this sense of exploration quite like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The game immediately puts you into this vast unknown world with nothing but some ragged clothes and an old man to guide your adventure. You're left on your own to find your way forward, making each new discovery feel invigorating and exciting. And the best part is, you have no idea where the fuck you're going. Breath of the Wild leaves you curious to discover each unknown location on your map, whether it be a new shrine, a local village, a gang of bokoblins, or an entirely new biome. Not to mention, the map is incredibly huge, making the distance between each destination feel very far. It isn't until you get the paraglider that traveling feels a bit more manageable. Then in some parts of Hyrule, you will need to adjust to the weather, like the intense heat from Death Mountain, or the freezing cold in the snow biomes, which you can go about many ways of adjusting to, such as clothing that is resistant to certain temperatures. But there are also elixirs you can use, or weapons that you can carry that give off a warmth to let you go see that area you've been dying to explore. Breath of the Wild shines brightest when its exploration and its mechanics are combined. Along with the expansive map, it creates something that just feels so immersive. For example, the stamina mechanic adds the element of limitation and realism, as certain tasks make you wonder if they are even achievable. Like climbing up a tall mountain, and being short on stamina falling off the side of a cliff. No, ah! These occurrences provoke you to discover an alternative way to meet your goal. It's small things like this that make Breath of the Wild brilliant. Even just looking at the scenery of Breath of the Wild leaves me in awe, as every location looks so incredibly beautiful, making you just stand there staring at your screen as if it's a painting. I would always find myself from time to time stopping to take in the scenery of Hyrule, as each new location just looked magical. It was often in these small moments where I enjoyed Breath of the Wild the most. But then you have the shrines, which are somewhat of a replacement to the dungeons from the original games. But now we have these more like mini-sized dungeons, which are scattered all across Hyrule. This makes exploring much more exciting, whether it be a shrine up that mountain or in that forest. You will never know. Breath of the Wild constantly teases you to explore, and if you do, will most likely always reward you for your curiosity. It was player choice that the developers had in mind when developing this game, and couldn't have executed this any better. I found the combat to be so diverse, with the game giving you so many ways to take down enemies in your path. Whether it be a sword, a bow, a rock, or even a metal box. You can be so creative in the ways you kill enemies. It expands upon player choice and makes you strategize how are you going to approach the next fight. Are you going to go in stealth, or close up, or from a distance? Then you have the fleshed out combat system with shield parrying, blocking, dodging, and the flurry mechanic. Every encounter feels fair and are that more satisfying to pull off. But then you have the mechanic of weapons breaking over a period of time, which forces you to use several weapons instead of just one. There are a variety of weapons with different uses, which have you think twice about which you will use for any specific encounter. Will you use the spear to create distance between enemies, or use the sword to deal the most damage on a single enemy? Then there's the boss fights in this game, which at first sight don't seem to be anything special, but each boss has its own gimmick, like needing to use Cryonis to break Waterblight Ganon's ice attack, or using Magnesis to attract the lightning to hit Thunderblight Ganon. And once you successfully defeat each boss, you get a new ability, which further enhances all future combat situations. And then there's the addition of your Sheikah Slate abilities. You have so many ways in which you can go about using these. Breath of the Wild just lets you go loose with your creativity to see what you can do. Like doing whatever the hell this is.
What the fuck?
All throughout my journey of Hyrule, I heard a brilliant sound design that was Breath of the Wild's audio. I heard footsteps of an awakened hero, the uplifting tune of a nearby village. A couple notes that still give me PTSD!
It's okay. It's okay.
Breath of the Wild has some of the best sound design in any game I've ever played. I mean, they literally perfected silence. Like every other game that Nintendo publishes, they perfectly encapsulate the game within its own soundtrack. The composers built something that was so unique to this game, which by itself is amazing, but when is supplemented by the sound of Hyrule, is something that is phenomenal. Every part of Breath of the Wild is amazing, but when these elements come together, you get an experience that feels complete and unforgettable. Although the game strays far from its predecessors and what defined Zelda in the past generations, Breath of the Wild accomplished what very few games can do, and that is take the essence of the original games and make something completely new that still feels familiar, and may even be the greatest game out of the entire franchise. Needless to say, I think Breath of the Wild truly is a masterpiece. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're new. Bye.